Good afternoon. Coming to you again. This will be a series regarding the loss of my eldest daughter, Deonka Drayton. I did do my very first video of really talking about and discussing my journey and our journey as a family regarding the loss of our daughter. I stated in the very first video that I have been silent for too long. This is 8 years later after the Post nightclub shooting, June 12, 2016. In a previous video, I talked about some of the timeline of the first day when we first learned of her loss. Again, disclaimer, if I get quiet or if I pause, it's because I am processing. As any of you could guess, this was a traumatic experience. So I do have PTSD regarding that. So a lot of times I am trying to process what I am saying and making sure that I get that point across. So sometimes that's hard to do when you're dealing with a traumatic event. So again, the day that we got home, which was a Friday. I think previously I said Thursday, but we did see Obama on Thursday. This was in Orlando, Florida. We are in South Carolina, so we had to take the drive from Orlando, Florida to South Carolina. So I talked about how we were not able to see her body until we got home. A little backstory of what happened at the Post nightclub. There was a shooting there. Again, it was the largest mass shooting in the U.S. at the time. A gunman did come into the club. Disclaimer again, this might be triggering for some. So if you have a problem or if this might be triggering for you, this is talking about a mass shooting. As we know, since then, we have had many. So just precautions there. There was a gunman that came into the Post nightclub shooting. Apparently, this was a place that the gunman did frequent. It was stated that he went several places looking for maybe the least resistance as far as security was concerned, where he could come in and get this done. I think Walt Disney was one of the places as well that him and his wife actually went while they had their child with them to see if this was something that he would be able to do. Being that the gunman was killed on the scene or at the site, his wife did have to stand trial to see if she knew or if she had anything to do with this event as well. And she was cleared of all charges. Again, I don't think that there's anyone who has dealt with somebody that has done something unfathomable to others, that the family members have to have some type of clue. I don't care if it's just one. They have some type of clue of who they are living with or who they have, if it's a parent brought up, raised. There's something in your mind, even if you don't know the extent of what somebody is going to do or what they have done, there is something that told you or you can relate to that lets you know that, wow, yeah, I can see that. So I'm not blaming the wife or anything, but I do know that she knew something was going on with her husband. And if she didn't, then she had to be very disconnected, which I don't think she was. So the man that came in will not give his name any credit or ever say his name into the Post nightclub at that particular time. Like I said, he did frequent the club. came in with weapons. I think the guard at that time that should have been on post left his post to seek after an underage person trying to get in the club. And again, this is not something that I know for a fact. These are just the stories that we got from as the family of these victims. The gunman was able to enter the club, I guess, without being searched, and started firing. Some people thought it was actually the music that they heard. Some people, I think, thought it was fireworks that they heard. There were many that were executed on a dance floor. There were some who took refuge in restrooms, which that was a place that my daughter took refuge in and did not make it. I said previously that when I spoke to my daughter's friend that she made reference to, she heard a bomb. So later on, I did learn that there was a bomb that the police did breach the bathroom to the Post nightclub to get inside. And whatever or whoever the victims were that made it, they were able to get them out of the restroom. And those who I think could walk out or needed the least help to get out, those were the victims that they rescued first. And those, some who were still alive at that time, still didn't get rescued and probably could have been saved, did not make it, sadly to say, because of their injuries. And like I said, they wanted to get the victims out first that needed the less help. This is hard, but it is something that I have to get out. Like I said, it has been 8 years and people really need to know my story. So you'll have people who at this time probably forgot about it, you know, but the families that we deal with this every day. The loss of a child is something that you'll never recover from. It's something that you will be able to manage better over time, is my thought and what I've experienced myself. It's not something, like I said, that you will ever get over. So it's just something that you will be able to digest a little better. She is thought about every day. And I'm trying to stay on track because, again, like I said, PTSD, I don't want to be all over the place, but again, I do need to get my story out. We left Orlando on Friday. Deonka Drayton, we called her Dee, made it to South Carolina actually a day before we did. So when we got to South Carolina on Friday, the funeral home, like I said, that stated that they would come and get her and bring her back to South Carolina due to us having to really figure that out and get that done. And I said that for some reason, I just felt like this needed to be done quickly. So it was something that we did not broadcast because, again, due to the trauma of it, the nature of it, we wanted to honor her as we should, the correct, proper way. As we came to the funeral home on Friday, we had to get everything done that day. So we were making the plan for the funeral, which was the following Saturday. So this was within that same week that this was done. So again, I don't know why the Lord was prompting me. Well, I said why was prompting me just to get this done quickly. So going through the day, you know, preparing, getting the plans out for her homegoing. Had to take a lunch break. So as we took this lunch break, because like I said, we had to get it done all in one day, went out, got some lunch, came back. When we got back to the funeral home, they told us that there were, I think, 5 or 6 news companies calling around different places trying to figure out where her body was. Again, we just got back to South Carolina on Friday, and the event happened the Saturday night before, which made it Sunday. So this was something that everybody was trying to get a hold of. I'm guessing maybe that's just the nature of the news, and I'm sure this is how they bring out stories. In future videos, I will definitely post some of the interviews that I did do in Orlando, and that I continue to do every year, because like I said, I will keep her legacy alive. So it was, I guess when you're dealing with something like this, you just don't know that that's something that's done, with the news people trying to find out where the funeral is going to be held, I guess, so they can get their coverage. When we got back home, I also found out that there was also a news company that actually did a story from my driveway while we were still in Orlando. It's just mind-boggling to me. But again, I guess this is how they get their news or whatever. But did do, like I said, a couple of interviews while we were in Orlando. We did have people calling our phones that there were numbers that we never saw before, people that we never heard of, trying to get a story. In this state of trauma, you're not wanting to talk to anybody. I mean, you're still processing, you're still trying to figure out what happened, and you're grieving. You're in a constant state of grief that you're trying to navigate. And so it was just you talking to or answering the phone for people was not a priority for us at that time. So let me back up a little bit. On our way from South Carolina, coming to Orlando, you know, again, I said we were talking to our pastor, who was our pastor at that time. We are no longer members of that congregation, you know. But of course, you know, my husband is talking to the pastor. I'm not talking to anyone. And my pastor, I think, wanted to speak to me at that time, which I couldn't. There were no words that I could even voice at that time. Like I said, 8 years later, I'm just getting to the point where I really can just sit down and talk about what our experience was. And due to the nature of the event and maybe the response that we got from people, complicated the grief process, I would say. So I think it is very important that you really have a personal relationship with God, because during these times, He's the only one that keeps you from losing your mind, literally. He's the only one that kept me from losing my mind. It's good to have a good support system. I want to let anybody know that if you're going through a traumatic experience, you definitely need to seek counseling, which helps you, from my experience, learn how to place what you're actually feeling, because you really don't know where to place those feelings, and you really think that you're out of your mind because of what you're feeling, even though it's understandable what you're feeling, but you still need somebody to help you navigate through that. Culturally, I think from an African American perspective, I don't think that we get the help that we need when we need it. And I'm saying that from personal experience. A lot of times when you're dealing with trauma, when you're dealing with dysfunction, when you're dealing with abuse, a lot of times we have been told, and I'm not saying that I was told this, and I'm not saying that you were told this, I'm just speaking from experience, that what happens at home stays at home. And when it comes to seeking professional counseling from a religious standpoint, because it really is religious, it has nothing to do with your personal relationship with God, that you are told to take everything to the altar, or, bring it to God, which you are bringing it to God. But at the same time, you do need sometimes an outside source from a professional perspective that can help you with that. That's just like if you get sick, you're going to go to the doctor. It's no different from you getting counseling if you need it due to any type of mental instability that you might be going through at that time. So let me make that clear. So the incident happened in June. I was working at the time from home, and I felt like if I just kept working, it would help me not really sit in what I was actually going through. So this happened in June. I think I was off for 2 weeks. Went back to work at that time. Didn't have to, but again, I thought that would help me get through what I was going through at the time. So that was June, July, August, September. The end of September, I just couldn't do it another day. I could not do it. I'm on the phone, my job, I'm a nurse, dealing with family members, dealing with patients, dealing with providers, on the phone, crying sometimes, trying to keep myself from crying, then explaining to people why I'm crying. So I had to just make up in my mind that this is not working. I had to try something else. And you can try something or think that something is working, but when it's not working, please seek an outside source. Please seek something else to help you get through what you're going through at that particular time. So finally came to the understanding that I could not do it. In my mind, I don't know why, maybe it's just the type of person that I am, I just felt like I was a failure if I stopped working. I felt like I was quitting a job that I've never done. And at that time, 28 years in nursing, maybe, I've never quit a job. I've never left a job. So all these things are going through my mind, but that's just your nature, my nature. Like I said, never quit a job, never left a job. So I just felt like I was letting people down when really it had nothing to do with people, but all to do with me. But this is something that I'm still learning, that it really doesn't matter what somebody else might think that you should be doing. You have to do what's best for you. So went out on FMLA. That was September, the end of September. Started grief counseling, I think the first part of December, which was the best thing that I could have done. Was not counseling with my former pastor at the time. I think he did call a few times, and I did converse with him a few times. But again, having that personal relationship with God is crucial, because I talk to him every day, which I still do, but during this time it was more. that I just had to have confirmation and needing him to help me get through what I was getting through at the time. Nobody else could do that for me. And so I'm speaking about me. A person could not do that for me. So I did have to rely on God and God alone. And that still happens today. That's still my source. You know, he is the source of my strength, him and him alone. Family, of course, is crucial to having a good support system. And I do thank God for the support system that I do have. When you're dealing with an event like this within the house, I would say it's different for everybody. So the loss for me as a mom is different from the loss of my husband, which is a dad, from the loss of my 2 children, which was their sibling. So the grief in the house was complicated, and everybody dealt with it differently because Dee Dee was related to them differently, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to get my point across and help you understand what it's like when you're in the house. So even though I was the mom who lost a daughter, my husband was a dad who lost a daughter, and also a wife that, y'all, I am on live, excuse me, my husband just walked in, but also the siblings who felt like they lost a mom and a sibling. So to try to process all of that, you have to understand that it was different for all of us. So again, this is my story. This is what we had to deal with in our house regarding the loss of my daughter, Dee Dee. And so going to counseling, like I said, did help me place my feelings. It helped me understand what I was going through. So that was the best thing that I could have done. These videos are not going to be very long because it is triggering, like I said, as all of you should know, just talking about it and trying to get it out. So I want to make sure that give you the opportunity as well if you have any questions or if there's something that you would like me to clarify. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you know when videos are coming out. Please hit the like button if you can understand and really would like to see more videos. And like I said, just comment, like, and subscribe. These sessions will be about our experience as a family. So again, I just want to thank you just for taking the time to listen to my story, you know, our journey as the Drayton family, what we went through with this traumatic loss. Again, thank you and have a good day.